I ain't no typical girl. I ain't no typical girl. Ain't no typical. I ain't cheerleading while the boys play ball. I ain't no typical girl. No, no. I wanna be right there in the middle of it all. And welcome back to another episode of the Alexandra Music Cafe. Yay! I'm so happy to have you guys here with us tonight. We've got such an awesome show. We really do. We've got some legends in the house, people who just know so much about the industry, backwards, upside down, inside out, just incredible people. And so we've got some really cool pop-in guests, which is going to be kind of cool to chat to them. If you guys are new to the cafe, pick up your laptop, walk over to the kitchen, and grab yourself a cup of coffee because we are at a cafe. And if you guys are regulars, welcome back. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything, pop them in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook, and I will bring them across just like this. Hi, fame.org. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Fame.org, they are a nonprofit organization that offer legal advice and help to musicians in South Africa pro bono. And they're sort of right here. Here we go. They've been a great help to the show, and I believe in their cause, and they're very kind to me as well, which is really cool to have them with us. But yeah, so welcome to the show. I hope you guys got your coffee, and again, any questions, chuck them in here. We've got some chat, we've got some talk, we've got some music. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. So I'm gonna bring our guests up one at a time. So please, everybody, welcome Aliska Crossley. Hi, Aliska.
Hello.
Hi. And next we have the wonderful Jonathan Crossley. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Ali, how are you?
So good. I'm so good. And last but not least, we have Jim Anderson. Hi.
Hi, Alexandra. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. So just so everybody knows, Aliska and Jonathan are from here in sunny South Africa, which is currently freezing, and Jim is from the States, so you are very lucky.
Where it's very warm right now.
Yes, I'm very jealous, not going to lie. I'm very jealous. I'm freezing right now. My toes I'm wearing slippers. That's how cold I am. That's the reality. So guys, well, thank you so much for taking your Sunday afternoon and evening to spend some time with me here in the Music Cafe. I love all of you. I think what you all do is just incredible. I know Jonathan and Aliska from church and general industry vibes. I met Jim. Where did we meet? We met via a mutual friend. Am I right?
That's right. Last November.
Yeah. Gosh, was that long ago? Feels like ages ago. It really does. But we were chatting over dinner at the carnival here in South Africa, and I'm fascinated with what you do and the projects you're involved with. I mean, just incredible stuff. And actually, I really can't wait to get into that. So it's going to be kind of interesting. And you're a doctor of music technically, and so is Jonathan. You're both doctors of music. So this is why we have you two here together. So essentially, I should just leave because you two can just chat. And like that's it. And then Aliska, you are so incredible. You're in charge of content when it comes to Juke South Africa. Am I correct?
That's right. Yes.
It's very cool, and I love what Juke's been doing. Sorry, and I interrupted you.
No. So I also don't have the doctorate, so I'm gonna stay in your corner tonight.
We got each other. High five. We got each other. There we go. It's you and me. Well, you know what? I think that what we should do is before we actually get going, because I've got lots of questions, I've got lots of stuff to get through. The problem is I always write down a ton of questions, but I end up not getting through all of them because the conversation just like creates itself, and everybody that I have on here is just so incredibly brilliant. So tonight's going to be the exact same, I know. So let's get started. Aliska, will you please give everybody just like a hashtag Tinder bio version of who you are and what you do?
I love that. So I studied music at Wits University. After I finished my degree, in South Africa, broadcasting opened. 4 or 5 new radio stations got a license to go live, and one of them was a Classic FM. It was affiliate or a sister station at that time of Classic FM in the UK, and one of my lecturers got the position as head of music, and she asked me to join. And so then the radio bug bit. So I've been basically in radio, and then very recently moved over to digital streaming, which is the next sort of kind of version of radio almost.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at the moment.
That's very cool. I think I honestly love what Jukes has been doing, because I honestly believe that the word innovation, I want to, that's like a hot word for me tonight. And like Jukes, like in the dictionary, Jukes is there next to the word innovation. Honestly, I think you guys were the first to really do what you guys did for South African artists, and I know that a lot of us are incredibly thankful, and we owe a lot to you guys for supporting South African and local artists. So thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you. thank you. Yes. Okay, well, I'm gonna jump to Dr. Jim Anderson.
Yes.
Will you please give everybody just like a see, Jonathan, you got to get it the right way. You've got this all wrong. You got it. There we go.
Backwards. All right.
Oh, do you mind giving everybody just like a hashtag Tinder bio version of who you are?
Sure. Well, I did my training in music, my undergraduate, my master's at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. My undergrad had a focus in piano performance, and then my master's was in orchestral conducting. And then I went to the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York for my doctorate. And since then, I've worked at a few places, and I'm currently the director of orchestral activities at the University of Delaware.
I love that. I'm just incredible. And I mean, you're sitting next to a beautiful piano, just like exquisite.
Yeah, this is one of my babies here. It's an 1893 Blutner grand piano. And so,
wow,
it's
absolutely
really
stunning.
extraordinary instrument. I'm very proud of it.
Wow, and I heard that you might be playing something kind of special for us.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, well, I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but all the time we've had in self isolation has been productive in terms of me going back and working on compositions that have been on a dusty shelf for a long time. And so I finally completed one of a set of 4 piano pieces that I've been working on.
Wow.
So I think I might play that today. We'll see.
Oh, that's so exciting. I mean, that's amazing. And yes, I do think that like lockdown has sort of forced us to push ourselves, even though you can't be hard on yourself, because we're all grieving something during this time, and we will get into this. But we are all grieving something right now. So you can't be too hard on yourself if you're not being as productive as you perhaps would have liked to have been. But it's still important to remain positive and to be as productive as you can, put as much energy into something as you can. So I'm assuming that's what you've done, and I can't wait to chat about that as well. Okay, and last but not least, Dr. Cross. That's what you're saved in. That's what you're saved in my phone. Literally, Dr. Cross. That's what you are.
Yeah.
But you know what? Do you mind giving everybody just like a hashtag Tinder bio version of who you are and what you do?
Cool. So, well, I was born in Northern Ireland, and then I moved. My parents moved over here during the economic troubles in Northern Ireland, the late 70s, early 80s, and then grew up on the east side of Gauteng, the province, and then I wandered across and did I started classical guitar when I was 6, but I did my first music degree was in classical guitar, and I met that lady above me there at that degree all those years ago. And then after that, I got interested in jazz. It was the time of the Rainbow Nation, and I met an amazing pianist, Paul Hamner, who I fell in love with his music and toured a bit with him. And then went on and did a master's in jazz, specifically looking at quite a famous South African guitarist. And then toured quite a bit in the 2000s, doing that with a bit of a funk act overseas in Europe and stuff. And then became very interested in technology. And then so my PhD is in cybernetics and body interfacing, gestural machine interfacing with humans, that type of stuff. So kind of did the smorgasbord of classical through jazz through to the crazy stuff. That's where I find myself now.
Just incredible. Like, honestly, whenever I walk into your studio or whenever I work with you, the amount of knowledge that you have is absolutely incredible. But I think the real gift is that you're able to put it across to a dummy like me, where I'm able to understand some of it, not all of it, but some terms where I've just sat and I've just learned so much from you, and you're able to put it across. That was funny.
I guess I mean that was what was nice, because I met James. Oh, I get it wrong every time. That's fine. Speaking of degrees in technology, can't point about that. But I was fortunate to meet James as well. We met him in November last year, and we talked a lot. It was really exciting because my field is probably very different in many ways to his. But the conversation was so wonderful because there's just that same enthusiasm. I think that's where we really hit it off.
Yeah.
And so I think, it doesn't matter what you're in or what kind of level of craziness or specialization you're busy with, as long as you can keep that childlike enthusiasm for music or be excited to share your 150-year-old piano. Because if it was something brand new, that's something we got to keep going.
No, that's so true. And actually, speaking of sort of childlike, I actually want to just chat. James, can we just sort of dive in a bit deeper? Where did music start for you? Musical family, or was it your black sheep? Where did it start for you?
Black sheep is probably the better term I could call it. My family had a love of music, but we had no one who was professionally studying music or performing. But they've always been very supportive. I started playing the piano around age 7 or 8, and it was always a hobby. When I started my undergraduate studies, I thought for sure I was going to be a medical doctor. I did a BA in music and biology, so double majored the undergrad.
Makes total
really
sense.
Interesting. Well, it's interesting. The sciences and music are very compatible. I think what Jonathan's doing with the technology is absolutely spot on. But I think the hook of conducting really is what got me. And so in my master's degree, I had the opportunity to go up into Canada and study with a revered conducting pedagogue, Otto Werner Müller. And one of the pieces that he asked us to play asked us to conduct was Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings. And of course, all of us wanted to play that. And I keep saying play, but conduct. And when it was my turn finally to go, I had this palpable sensation that what I was doing gesturally was actually controlling the breathing of the audience. I mean, I could sense it. And to this day, I call that beginner's luck. But I remember leaving that experience going, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That is just incredible. And I love that you're controlling the breathing of the audience. I think that is such an interesting thing to. I mean, Jonathan, you sort of went, yeah, as you said that. I mean, do you feel it's the same, or or do you want to add into that?
No, I think that's maybe now I'm figuring out why Jim and I hit it off. I mean, gesture is such a big topic now in music. So and it's something. It's really interesting because you would have thought the way power relationships and stuff have shifted in music that conducting might have been affected in some way by that, but gesture has actually exploded into one of the main topics. So everything that we're doing in terms of technology, we talk about gestural interfacing, gestural morphology. Like, these ideas are about how the body and the extended body can shape the sound, but it also shapes the relationships between the musicians. So in my groups, the movement of maybe the exoskeleton that I built, or even the movement of the way the machines interface, is quite analogous in many ways as to how one would see how a conductor would interface with an orchestra, or even the micro, these micro expressions and micro movements that we're not really aware of. There's a lot of research into that, but how, members of even a chamber music ensemble or a rock band, to put two small groups as an option there, but the way that our gestures and stuff are read subconsciously and consciously, and they impact how the performance occurs.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, yes. And actually, I've got a comment here that I'm going to bring up in a hot second. I think it's a bit of a question, but I can we just talk about Jonathan, your machine, your guitar that you built? Can we talk about that for a hot minute? Can we do that?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Yeah.
We can. No, we can. We can. It's really interesting because I mean, I was fiddling with this idea just over 10 years ago, and at that point, it was quite interesting because it seemed quite fresh. You know, if you did a Google search on the stuff, there was a lot less of it. There was some amazing work had gone on in Amsterdam. I don't know if Jim, you're aware of this, the Stein Institute, and Michael Weiss they did stuff in the late 80s and stuff with these hands and stuff. But the idea was, you know, as electronic musicians, you're sitting behind a laptop, or you know, it's the interface, the movement between the audience and the music is not as clear. And so the guys working at Stein in the 80s, they were trying to get instruments that were electronic in nature and could generate electronic sounds, but were as tactile and responsive as say a piano. You know, as you can see the motion of the piano, or the movement of the violin is so clear, or the conductor's baton. These things are missing from electronic music. That's why, you know, on the electric side, like rock is so big, because the guitar or electric guitar, the drums are so physical, and that's part of the event. So anyway, so my frustrations with the electric guitar really of many years playing jazz, that it was not it was not as responsive as the classical instrument. You know, the classical guitar, if you move your hand from here to here, the whole sonority, the emotion changes. Electric guitar just doesn't have it. It just and so I found myself fiddling with electronics all the time, trying to get to do that, and I got frustrated. I spent most of the performances sitting on the floor, playing with my left hand and then twiddling knobs with the right hand, which was very frustrating. So the whole idea with the machine was like, okay, if I can get my shoulder, I can wiggle this shoulder or this arm, or you know, do this. If I can do that while continuing to play, okay, now I can control the electronics without interfering with the playing part. It's exploded now. It's exploded. There's a very famous singer, pop singer, Imogen Heap, and you may know her. She's got these things called the hands and the gloves. It all happened at the same time. It was crazy, all across the world. This very great pianist, Nicholas. Jim, help me out. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he did a piece for piano where they used a Microsoft Connect and they mapped his gestures. So actually his physical movements also changed the envelopes on the piano sound and stuff as part of the composition. Wow.
Sure. No, just absolutely incredible. And I've seen you I have seen you work on stage. We did a Writers Round event together. And I was able to, I mean, you didn't bring your machine, but just to sort of see what you were creating, and your mind is just incredible. It was really, really fun to be involved with that. But I do have a question here. So I'm just going to bring that up here. Okay. Do you think musical heritage, or the black sheep, as Alex said, is there any difference in quality of music, or is it just pure passion? So, I mean, I don't know if this is a kind of cool question, but I find this sort of thing interesting. Do you think that there is what do you think about this question, Jim?
Yeah, no, I think everyone is inherently musical. And often it's opportunity that allows somebody to develop those talents, and people's passion. All the things that were said here factor into that as well, right? So finding your own voice, your own passion, whether it's in music or in art or in architecture and literature, it could be anything, right? And so at a young age, we have this opportunity, sort of like, it makes me think of speaking multiple languages. You have this language acquisition device during that pivotal time when you're a child, and how that's particularly nurtured probably leads to the depth one pursues a particular art form. But I don't know. That's me guessing. I certainly, like I said, my family was very supportive. They saw that I had some gifts at a young level, and they put me with the right teachers, and they exposed me to the proper events. And so I think that made all the difference in my case.
And I think that's what the word support, foundation, that structure behind you is really important. I'm sure we've all had mentors, you mentioned. I mean, we've all had those people along the way that have just fed into your lives, that just sort of enrich you. And well, speaking of support, and speaking of innovation, speaking of love, and speaking of care, Jukes, I want to talk about this because honestly, like Eliska, you have no idea. I honestly talk about Duke so often, just how incredible you guys have been. Can you sort of just chat to us a bit about where Duke's was and when lockdown happened? What happened with the team? What were you guys thinking? What made you sort of change views? What happened there?
Yeah, so it is like you say, Jukes is one of a number of music streaming services available in South Africa, and we are competing against the iTunes and the Spotify's. Jukes is a product of Tencent, and it is the biggest music streaming service in the Asian market, and it has been launched in South Africa, but I think in our territory, the other ones are perhaps a little better known. But I think what's really given us the edge is that we do have an office in South Africa, and that means that we've got a team on the ground. So whereas maybe iTunes and Spotify may have one person representing the brand, in South Africa, we've got a whole team of people, and we could really embrace the local market. And so when COVID-19 happened, we saw that there was a unique. We've built up relationships with artists because we really wanted to get into the local scene. We felt that would give us an edge, and we've built up these relationships. And when COVID happened, we started realizing that people were reaching out to us and saying, we stuck. Our gigs have been cancelled. We can't perform, and they weren't asking anything. But I think then the lights just went on, and we decided we can really help. We can do some good here, and some marketing budget that we were going to spend elsewhere. We decided we'll open a gig to earn program where people could perform live in the app, and we'd actually pay them for the gigs. And it's been an incredible journey, because at the start of COVID, people knew how to go live via peer-to-peer, but not necessarily everybody had the knowledge or the equipment. But people just started, and it's been so incredible to watch people who participated right at the beginning, and how week on week they've improved, and they've looked at their performances, and they've added things, and they've grown, and it's really been magical to journey with these artists. And the program has grown, where we are trying to give more opportunities, bigger opportunities to artists now. So it's been actually a really exciting time.
Oh, that is amazing. And as an artist who has sort of used the platform, I mean, I sort of post on my Instagram story, guys, choose between 2 dates, and then they pick a date and I go live. And that's like, and the interaction, people love it. I mean, it's like going live on Instagram, it's like going live on Facebook, but you're in the app. You can tell people, I'm here. My music is literally right here in my profile. You can go, it's all right here. And it's so convenient. It's really, really brilliant. And I have loved watching the interaction of the audience grow. Personally, on my side, people are getting more, they talk more, they have requests, they're getting more involved. And I'm sure others are also finding this, where downloads have increased. It really is just all round fantastic. Just honestly brilliant.
That's wonderful feedback to you. Thank you.
Of course. And I think I should actually get a couple of friends on with you again, just in the music industry. We should just all chat about what we've experienced. But I actually also want to just chat to you about how now it's grown. You've obviously now got a big concert happening, a big live stream concert happening on the 28th. Am I right?
That's right.
Can you tell me how going from the in-app live now, how it's become sort of a competition where people can choose between their favorite artist to be an opening act? Can you explain how that all came about, and where is it going?
So we started with the Gig to Earn project, and sort of a month in it, our management team said they wanted everybody in the company to come up with a concept, and everybody had to write something down. And then we had sort of a big session where we ran through all the ideas, and there were 5 points that you had to mark it on, and eventually it came down to 5 smaller ideas, and one of the ideas were that if we are going to do a big streaming act, normally in real life you would have opening acts, and we felt that we had already built this community around Gig to Earn, and we would like to actually reward those people who participated and give them a bigger opportunity. And that's actually how it grew, and it's really taken off. People have really felt that this is an opportunity for them, for up and coming artists. So just tonight, actually, it's evening in South Africa. We had the finals. We had 4 finalists competing, and there were different criteria. They had to bring in views. They had to bring in likes. All that interaction stuff is really exciting. So we've brought that. So we've gamified actually the whole competition.
It's true.
So that's a little bit different to traditional. I come also from a classical background, so that very traditional, serious concert competition. This has been actually quite a lot of fun because the artists also got to participate, and they also had to rally their fans and bring them in. So it's just the next baby step that we've taken, but we've seen such success, really. So I'm very, very excited to see where it's gonna end up. And yes, so hopefully we can bring more sponsors on board, more prizes, more opportunities. So watch this space.
Hashtag watch this space. Absolutely incredible. I think we should definitely have you back in a few more weeks and just chat about what else is happening, how the platform has grown, the opportunities for artists, because because life is changing week by week. We wait for our Thursday meeting with President Cyril, our president in South Africa, and then life changes, and so I'm sure that Jukes has to adapt every single time. You're always looking for something new. So yeah. Oh, we've actually got a comment. Somebody is saying, "Hello, Jono." There we go. Hello. You're looking sharp. Brilliant.
Excuse me. Thank you.
So no, that's honestly incredible. And like I've said, I've loved what you guys have been doing. Innovation, you guys were at the beginning of it, honestly, right at the front of it. Just absolutely incredible. So, speaking of sort of adapting to new spaces and having to work in different spaces, Jim, when it comes to teaching, am I right that you guys have just finished a semester now? Right. So what was it? Sorry,
we just finished our spring semester. Yes.
Spring semester, right? So so when it comes to the transition when COVID hit, and sort of you guys went on like a lockdown and a shutdown, how did that affect your classes, and then transitioning to Zoom and how did that whole space work for you and for your students?
Well, I think it was it's a process of learning for everybody, right? So the lockdown came almost immediately. There was almost no time for any planning for any sort of transition. It's just we were on campus one day, and the next day we were not allowed to go back. And for ensembles, so I conduct 3 of the 4 orchestras at the university, and for us, transitioning into a virtual orchestra idea just wasn't practical.
Right.
So what happened at UD for the symphony orchestra was we had met literally enough time. Our class is a 1 credit hour course, and to receive curricular credit for something like that, you have to meet a certain number of contact hours. And we had already met that because we are in rehearsals for 5 hours a week, basically. And so we didn't really have to do much more because the students had met that requirement. But instead, I particularly felt like there was a need to maintain some sense of orchestral community. And so through Zoom, I had a weekly an optional meeting. We felt it was important to make this optional because the students were also dealing with all the stress of this new reality, and in many of their academic courses were translating into an online content, and we knew that was going to be a significant burden on them. So it was an optional once a week meeting where I would play one of the performances from the Berlin Philharmonic's digital concert hall, which they have a phenomenal program there where they live stream their concerts, and they have a whole archive of performances. And the twist was that I would bring on friends, colleagues in the business who would then choose which concert we would listen to and then talk to the students about why. So it would turn into a history discussion or a theory discussion or maybe a performance practice. We might listen to two different performances of the same piece and talk about the interpretive elements. And the students got to meet, conductors from Bogota, Colombia, and from all over the United States. And it was a very informal session, a chance to just to meet on a weekly basis. And we felt that was important.
I think that's really cool that you were able to just touch base every week. And the thing is that we, like I've said before, that we are all experiencing some sort of grief. We're all experiencing some sort of loss in this time. And it's all relative. And to be able to go to class every day and talk to people who are like-minded, and who are also going into this weird career of music. I mean, you want to sort of have that community where you can turn to a friend and say, I need help, or the support. And you've got that in university, and then suddenly it's gone. I mean, it's suddenly gone, and now you're faced going into this big bad world, sort of almost alone. You feel alone. So to touch base once a week is quite important, I think. And speaking of touching base, we've got two poppin' guests, some students, some star students of yours, which is really, really cool. So I'm gonna bring up Cassidy. Hi, Cassidy.
Hi.
And I've got Christian as well. Hi, Christian.
Hello. Thank you for the invitation.
No, of course. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, your afternoon. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate you guys being here. I mean, Jim honestly says you two star students. That's what we had to put there. Star students, very important. I think what we should just have a quick hashtag Tinder bio version of what you guys do, just so everybody knows who you are. Cassidy, would you like to start?
Sure. So my name is Cassidy, as you can see. I studied opera and music management at University of Delaware for 4 years. And I just graduated last spring with a Bachelor of Music and a minor of Music Management.
Congrats.
And this past year, I started my master's at Peabody Conservatory, which is in Baltimore, Maryland, continuing to study opera and voice pedagogy, which is teaching and learning about the anatomy of the voice. And I'm a lyric soprano, so I sing pretty much anything in soprano repertoire. So it's been fun, from Mozart to modern music and a couple things that I've done with Dr. Anderson.
Amazing.
But yeah.
No, that's very cool. And you mentioned business management.
Yes, I had a minor. It was focused on nonprofit music. So we did a lot with copyright law and worked with nonprofit organizations. It was really cool.
That's incredible. We should actually put you in touch with fame.org, because I think that's just to chat about the synergy would be really, really cool, because they sort of focus in on that as well. So that could be that's really interesting. Yeah. Incredible. I can't wait. I want to get into that in a minute. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm getting to you now. Christian, do you want to give us just a hashtag Tinder bio version of who you are?
So I first of all, my name is Christian and I come from Malta. And for those of you who may not be familiar with where Malta is, it's in the Mediterranean Sea under Italy. So under Italy, there's Sicily, then there's Malta. And the joke is that, my joke rather, and I like very bad jokes, but I will say it still, is that if you want to find Malta on the map, you have to find the actual word, not the land, because it's tiny. Yes. Having said that, I feel lucky that I come from Malta, because I was surrounded from a very young age I was immersed in so much culture and history, because we've been ruled by so many people, part of so many empires from thousands of years ago. So we got independence in 1964. So we're really still a baby in the baby phase of our independence. But I come from a very musical family. My father is a clarinetist. I have no family members who are professional musicians, so who have music as their career. But my father, he definitely had quite a period of his life where he was, I can safely say, he was a semi-professional. He played with a lot of bands in Malta. We have a very rich culture of bands. and marching bands, and a lot of them. Basically, we have in every town we have at least 2 bands which are related to a religious feast. So and it's interesting now that I'm in America. I'm studying composition, and I'm seeing the and conducting, of course, and I'm seeing the band culture here, and it's interesting to see the difference in the evolution even of the repertoire, because in America bands seem to be tied a lot either to the military or the games, football games, and in the stadium. So it's interesting to see the evolution of repertoires, you know. But yeah, I did my undergrad in Malta in composition as well. I worked for 9 years as a percussionist with the Malta Philharmonic Orchestra. And in those 9 years, I mean, after those 9 years, I finally decided that now is the right time to, you know, pursue my studies in composition and conducting. And I'm very happy to say that I'm at the University of Delaware to do this.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And I mean, I want to get to you in a hot minute, because also sort of working with Dr. Anderson and sort of him, sort of you learning from him. I want to get into that in a minute. But Cassidy, can we just quickly chat about sort of COVID, right? And when it hit you guys, and now with what you're studying as well, management, business management, and really diving into that part of the industry, because a lot of people focus on the show part of show business and not on the business side of show business.
Yeah.
So can I ask, and I know it's a tricky question, maybe it's an ugly question, but going forward now, especially our generation, how do you think life is going to change for you, your career, your peers' careers going forward, sort of entering this new world after Corona? Is that a terrible question? I just want to get your opinion
I
on
can
it.
try to answer it to the best I can. I think with opera especially, which is what I'm focusing on, I think it could change a lot of the way we perform. So I think maybe for a while, bigger performances might not be a thing. I've done some pretty big operas, and then I've also done some that have like 4 people in them. So
Right.
I think, and we've discussed through Peabody, we've discussed doing some virtual shows. So whatever that looks like. So characters that might not interact with each other while they sing. So we could do a live Zoom performance. So I think in the near future, that might be a possibility. But it's very difficult because something like opera, we pride ourselves on like the art form of being able to project yourself over an orchestra.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of something we can't do maybe for the next year or so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I personally have been working on different ways to sing, recording stuff, working with pianists remotely, trying to find other musicians to work with. And it's been a learning curve, but it's been really fun, actually.
That's really interesting. So you've taken this time to sort of dive into music and finding new things. What's fun, connecting with people, collaborating. Am I right?
Absolutely. And it's allowed me to kind of return back to the reason I decided to do music, all the things that I like to sing, finding new things. And it's been great.
Oh, that's amazing. So because this show is usually more mainstream music, sort of pop, country pop, and all that. Sorry, Jonathan, don't laugh at me, Jonathan. I see you. So this is cool to sort of have this chat about when it comes to classical music. I started in classical. I was trained classically for when I was a teenager till about 18 years old. So I really do appreciate, and I love classical music. I love opera. I love arias, the stories, the emotion. I honestly love it. So can you just explain, in case people don't know, with your voice type? You are a soprano, and can you explain the different voice types for us, just for a hot second, for people that don't know?
Yeah. So there's like 4 main voice types: soprano, mezzo, tenor, baritone. But then there's offsets of that. So soprano would be the highest, and then there's baritone, bass baritone, which is the lowest. And then I guess within the soprano repertoire, there's like lighter sopranos who sing things with like a lighter orchestra, and then heavier sopranos like Wagner sopranos. If anyone knows Wagner, very thick orchestra. I personally am like somewhere between that. but it's kind of allowed me to sing a variety of things. And I think a lot of modern music fits me pretty well because usually a lot of more modern orchestras are, I've worked with a lot of chamber music. So I think a lot of modern composers I know work with like Baroque instrumentation. So like harpsichords and things like that. If that makes sense. Sorry if I like.
It's cool. Nerdify us. It's fine. Nerdify us. Geekify us. I love it. No, that's amazing. So I mean, just I love what you're doing and how you're so involved with the music and how serious you're taking, because a lot of people just want to pick up a guitar or start the piano and they just want to sort of become what they are, and they don't really look in and discover their art and who they are as a person and their love for it. And I can see that is exactly what you're doing. So I really do love that. And I think we got to have you back with Fame, and we got to have a good fat chat about this and just dive deeper into what you're doing.
Thank you.
Awesome. So Christian, can I ask you, can you please spill the tea? And that is, tell us the dirt. What is it like working with Dr. Anderson?
Oh.
Come on,
no.
Spill the tea.
Dr. Anderson.
We still have another year together, so.
That's true. Well, I must say that Dr. Anderson, one thing which I was amazed immediately with when I started studying with him is the amount of opportunity that he gives. That's one thing which I noticed immediately, and I was, to be honest, I was quite taken aback in a positive way, because first of all, in Malta, even though we have a lot of culture, but there aren't, since we're small, there aren't a lot of opportunities. But now I came here, and Dr. Anderson, listen, unfortunately, not unfortunately, well, if we're gonna have before COVID struck, we were planning to have the opera The Consul by Menotti, and he immediately, I think it was our first lesson together, he told me, you can conduct, if you're interested, you can conduct the public rehearsal. That's all up to you. And just like that. So that's one thing which I was immediately, this is amazing. And the second thing, I think these are two primary things among others that I immediately, that they immediately left an impact on me. The second thing is, I learned how easy it is if you open your eyes to how to make something which may seem either complicated or impossible, how to make it work without killing yourself. Yeah. Without feeling, like cool. a workout.
Yeah, you were building me. Wow, that was just incredible. You are so cool. Wow, I dig you. I dig you, dude.
But it's the balance between, because yes, we are making music. It's our mission to make art, but at the same time, there is a level of a practicality as well, which it needs to be always in balance. I always believe in the golden mean, and I believe, so far, I don't think I've arrived very close to it yet. Probably I'll be 90 years old if I live that long, and I'll still be a bit far. But I must say that being with Dr. Anderson, it's definitely feeling closer. It always feels a bit closer, and I'm extremely happy with that, because it's important, I remember, I'll never forget, Dr. Anderson gave me the opportunity to conduct my orchestral piece, which I have the honor to have won the competition, the orchestra competition in Delaware, and he gave me the opportunity to conduct it. And I'll never forget, we had our class where our conducting session, and we were discussing a particular moment in the beginning, and we saw how I conducted it in the rehearsal, and then he said, listen, you can do it either like this or like this as well. And then I said, that's exactly it. That's it. So, the effortlessness of how he explains things. I just yeah, that's yeah. So
You
I'm
are.
considerably lucky to be studying with him.
Yes. Oh, that is amazing. Well, those are very kind words. And Jim, A plus? Yes, A plus.
Yeah, very kind words. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Christian.
yeah. I'll be looking at my report soon.
Oh, can I ask? So I see that in the chat we're just chatting a bit about a guy called Edwin Balzan. Balzan. Am I saying that right?
Yes. But Balsan.
Balzan. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's just
Who is
amusing
he?
because Christian is saying like you have to look for Malta on the map only by the label because you can't see the actual island, and then it's very
Yes.
small. And strangely, I was presenting at a conference the end of last year, and I met this guy Edwin Balzan who runs the Electronic Music Malta (EMM).
Right,
Like
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. He runs this whole thing in Malta, and he came across here to speak, and he was doing a thing on modular synthesis, and then he brought across one of my big heroes, Luc Houtkamp, who's actually a Dutch saxophonist who wears a brain cap and modifies the sound of his saxophone by thinking, and he's been doing this for years, long before everyone else. And he's moved to
Wow.
Malta because it's so cool there. So he's gone the other way to you, Christian.
Right. Well, yeah, I was actually planning. I had secured some work with the Philharmonic Orchestra for the summer, but of course, since due to the virus and the airports got closed, Malta closed their airport relatively early. In fact, now it's open again. First, they opened it for some countries, and now it's opened even more. The thing is, Malta relies a lot on its tourist economy, so. It's a bit of a risk to open the airport still, even because the virus is unfortunately still out there, but they had to do something about it. In fact, all of the feasts, you can say, are cancelled, although there are some modifications being done to how things will be carried out. But yeah, but have you been actually in Malta, Dr. Crossley?
No. It was just it was a chance meeting, and we really hit it off.
Incredible.
We played a little bit together. It was,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Amazing.
this is amazing. I've loved having you two on, Christian and Cassidy. I think you guys are inspirations and are Macarena cool. So thank you so much for coming on. And I usually do this at the end of the show, but I feel like I've just to do this now with you two. Just before we say goodbye to you two, do you guys have any just little pearls of wisdom, some advice for somebody out there that's starting out, just that you can offer something just to encourage them? Cassidy.
I would say that if something, like, take risks on doing things, do weird stuff. Don't say no to something just because it seems like a weird opportunity. Because some of the things that I thought were going to be like some of the most interesting things I've done, I was like, this seems a little weird. And then it's ended up being like my favorite experiences. So just say yes if it's something's presented to you, and just keep doing it because you love it and not because you have to.
That's great advice. That really is great advice. Thank you so much. And Christian, we had to have a comment here. Christian, who runs fame.org, he likes your character, likes your name, must have something to do with the name.
Yes,
I would say. Do you have any parting words, just some pearls of wisdom you'd like to pass on to somebody who's sort of following in your footsteps, if I could put it that way?
I would say two things. Don't be afraid. That's one. Because the world is big and it can overwhelm us. But I mean, everything is done by doing one step at a time. And it's everything. Look, every vocation is a lifelong journey. So if we, if we're apprehensive in taking the first step, we will never reach 10 steps and then 20 and then 30. And the second thing is be kind, because kindness makes wonders. And in being kind, you're really making yourself happy at the end of the day.
Very true.
I would say those things. No fear and kindness.
I think that is so true. Thank you. And there's even somebody who was a guest a couple weeks back, also sort of having to tie in with the kindness. Be nice. Just be
Yes.
nice.
Yes. Yes.
Just be nice, and it gets you a long way.
Yeah, exactly. And look, unfortunately, the industry can be very unkind.
Yes.
It's not unkind. It can be very harsh. It can be harsh. It has its satisfying side and its harsh side, just like any other
I
industry.
agree.
But with kindness, and with positivity,
Mm.
everyone will be happy. Hopefully.
Yeah.
know.
Oh, that's true. Well, I mean, I thank you so much for Christian and Cassidy for pouring your positivity and kindness and love and passion into this talk and what you guys do. I would definitely love to have you guys back and chat to you a bit more in depth about what you're both doing. But for now, thank you so much for being on today. I really do
Thank you.
appreciate it, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Great.
Thank you. And it's nice to see Dr. Crossley and Miss Crossley and Dr. Anderson again.
That was very nice.
Cassidy, of course. Pleased to meet you. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Hey, have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. They're so cool. They're so cool. I like them. We can keep them.
We're very fortunate at the University of Delaware. The School of Music is filled with these sort of motivated people who go way beyond what's required of a degree, and they're just curious musical beings that we learn from, as well as that we get to the privilege to teach. So yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Incredible. And we've actually just got a comment here from Fame. So just so you guys know that I'm going to go back. So often I've got guests on the show who are like writing books or something. And I feel like I could write a book on all the hashtags that I pick up from these shows. So any hashtags, be nice, be kind, team, all those things. So this whole conversation is going into that book. Well, you know what? I want to chat a bit to Jonathan Crossley now. So we've spoken a bit about innovation and what Duke has been doing, what Jim and Delaware's been doing, and what the students have been doing. Can we chat a bit about what you've been doing during lockdown and what projects you have coming up soon?
Yeah, sure. Unlike Jim, I've had a little bit of a lag because my main body of teaching only happens from July. So my work at the university has been mostly in assisting the systems and stuff to get online with that rigid thing that happened. But the other thing that really happened in South Africa that's been really exciting is the National Arts Festival went online. They decided to go virtual. And because it's our big national festival every year, Jim. And so they decided to go virtual only about 80 or 85 days ago. It was a very late decision. Wow. They put out a call. And so we put in a proposal as part of that. I have a group called Deep Spacer, which is really it's a contemporary band where the idea was to try and bring the ideas of free improvisation into a more contemporary kind of beat-driven environment. So how do you take the ideas of say Keith Tippett or the British school of improvisers, where that music is very, very free and it sounds a little bit austere then, I think, for listeners, bring it into how would you bring a beat-driven environment to that to give people something to hook onto? And so Deep Spacer does that. We have a kind of a digital ecology whereby all of our systems and machines are interlinked, and the drummer has the tempo. So it's free improvisation in the truest sense of the word, except there is tempo. And the tempo is controlled by the drummer. He's maybe the conductor, just to go back there again. So he works a few things and the systems respond. And I kind of think about it very, very much like a kind of a John Cage compositional system where the composer has agency through the kind of, the digital ecology, and that responds out and the musicians respond to that. So we've been doing that. But then with the NAF going online, we were commissioned to do a concert. So we had an option of pre-recording something and doing like, a live performance, which is videoed and edited, or taking it one step further and saying, well, what would it look like in a dystopian kind of digital future with video? And so that's what we've done. So we've finished off an albums with the material added to it in the studio here, and then looked at ways of getting responsive video techniques. So we used a thing called Max MSP. I don't know if you're familiar with that, which is a software environment. It has a thing in it called Jitter where you can audio and video can respond to each other. And so we've done all these kind of visual creations of material that relates to the nature of the individual songs. But then in the Max environment, the music responds, so you can see an interaction between the visuals and that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We actually have an example, am I right?
Yeah, I can show you something visual. I can't play you this one yet because it's only launching at the NAF on Thursday. So it's
how exciting. So I'm going to share the screen. Am I right? Am I sharing this?
Sure, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, so what you're seeing there is me raging at my webcam. This exact webcam you're watching me through now. And it's a lovely piece of software inside Max that kind of has a lag on it. So I'm actually jumping backwards and forwards and putting my hands up in the air and screaming. I'm not really screaming. Just and then it just kind of transitions. And now what's happening, although you can't hear it, is the drums and bass have kicked in. So the music, that image is now responding to the music in real time. Very cool.
I just find this fascinating.
Yeah, if lockdown hadn't happened, I'd never be doing that. It's just like jump in. And so now for the university side, I'm kind of modifying the courses that are starting in mid-July. And I'm going to bring video into it because it's now composers that I teach in, specialist composers in 3rd and 4th year level. They're not going to be able to, get live instruments. We're in a very strict lockdown over here. So we're not going to be able to go in the studio and record and stuff. So by bringing visual elements and responsive things, it gives them something else to work with, some sort of new creative fodder, I think.
This is honestly fascinating. And I think that, I'm not really exposed to this sort of world except through you, which is awesome. So you're like my claim to fame, essentially, when it comes to this. But I find this is just so fascinating and such an interesting way to use music and use technology to really be so evocative to an audience, like it really pulls you in. And I can't wait to hear and see this whole project. So where can people find this? Can you tell us when everything's coming out, what sites we should follow so we can watch this?
Yeah, sure. The album is launching at the National Arts Festival, and it's launching as a film. So the National Arts Festival runs from the 25th of June to the 5th of July, so this Thursday, and we're on the first night. So our material is launching on the first night. And but during the festival, you'll be able to either purchase a login for the individual concert, or I think there's a festival pass where you can see everything. There's incredible stuff happening across the festival. And then a regular old live streaming of the album will happen after the festival from the 6th.
That's very cool. I think we should. What I will do, so everybody knows, I will definitely share it across to my page. So if they get lost, they can come to it on my page, Alexandra Music. Also, and then we'll also share it across in there. This is it's so exciting to see how the industry and how people are sort of trying to be innovative and change things up. And I think I'm really interested to see how things like continue after COVID, because I don't know about you guys, but I won't be leaving the house without a mask for a long time. I think life is just going to change forever and ever, forever and ever. But I think let's get some fun, positivity, cool vibes happening in this room, in this cafe. We're gonna start. I think I need like a little theme, like thing happening. We're gonna start our Writers Round section of the show. Jonathan, can you make me something? Please?
Yeah, not that quickly. Be piano.
Something really cool and trendy, and with some cool visuals and whatever. And then we'll put it on Jukes, and then Jim can sort of have it, and make people study it and have different interpretations and versions of it. So we'll involve everybody in this. So I think let's do this Writers Round. And so everybody knows, a Writers Round usually happens in Nashville, Tennessee. It's essentially like an open mic. You'd find open mic in New York, LA. You'll find them open mic anyway. But what happens in Nashville, Tennessee is you'll have a few guys and girls on a stage, all plugged in with their guitars or keyboard, their mic all lined up. And there's usually 4 of them on a stage. And they'll play in turn an original song, something acoustic, for about an hour, and then they'll hop off and the next guys will hop on. And I have my own event here in South Africa called Riders Round SA, and since we can't do anything live, I've had to bring that here because I can't go without live music. I crave live music like I crave coffee and chocolate cake. So we've incorporated into the show, and we're going to be playing something really, really cool and different for this Riders Round. So Jonathan, you're going to start us off. I'm going to try playing it on my side. If it doesn't work, then we'll play it on your side. But can you please just chat to everybody about what we're about to see as the start of our Riders Round?
Yeah, let me see if you can start it on your side. Otherwise, I have to go hunt and find for it quick.
Okay, cool.
So this is I'm going to play you a little premiere. This is a segment from one of the tracks from the Deep Spacer album, which is called 433 Eros. There you go. That's the
Plug right there.
asteroid there. This track is called 3 Juno. It's one of the asteroid names we selected. The band is myself on guitar and electronics, and a great bass player, Cesare Casarino. There you go, Cesare on the left there. On bass, guitar, and electronics. And then the chap on the right is Etienne Oosthuizen. He's the drummer, and he also controls the tempos and stuff. So we jam everything in studio, like I said.
They look like your bodyguards.
Yeah, anyway, this track, y'all, 3 Juno is one of the tracks from the records that didn't make it onto the NAF show, and it has a little bit of a bit of a video, interestingly, which was this was done before the riots that have happened in the US, Jim. So there's something about the aggression of this front part of the song. I looked at the Baltimore riots from long ago and found some segments from the Baltimore riots and threw those together. And if you look very closely, there's the way the software works, there's a mashup between two videos. So I found a fantastic amateur video of a rock concert with guys kind of stage diving and jumping all around. So quite aggressive. So the music responds and is mashing up bits of the Baltimore riots with I suppose what's called a mosh pit, if you can find that. So,
Sure. Yeah.
So
That's
I don't know if you got it up
interesting.
there, Ali.
I do. I don't know if we were going to be able to talk over it. Probably not. If it comes up that our mics are muted, then that's fine. But we'll still be able to watch it and just enjoy it. And it might be just when I load things up onto my gallery here, it might be a smidge fast for the first couple of seconds because it just has to sort of find its feet. But let's play it, guys. Let's have a look. Wow.
Wow, bravo.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at this. Like that is like that comment. That's exactly it. You're like watching, like you can hear colors. You know, you can smell music. It's like that. That's amazing, Jonathan. Like
Well, thank
amazing.
you.
Congratulations. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, thank you to the guys as well, Cesare and Etienne. Yeah, thank you.
We're just gonna bring up your bodyguards one more time.
Oh,
There we go. That's honestly incredible. And everybody look out for the album. When is the album dropping? I can't remember if you did mention the dates.
No, I did. But the film is dropping the 25th, so on Thursday night at the NAF, the National Arts Festival. It runs to the 5th, the festival. Alongside, you can download it anytime. And then after that, if you just want to hear the music, it's available on streaming services from the 6th of July.
July. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is just honestly incredible art. It really, really is. So thank you very much. Okay, so the next part of our writers round, Jim.
Yeah, Jonathan, that was fantastic, by the way. That really terrific.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
I also wanted to say, one of the reasons that I was in South Africa in November was to meet with Rusera Seethal, the artistic director at the National Arts Festival. I have a project called the Cultural Fusion Initiative that I've been working on for several years now that we're hoping to bring from Nigeria down to South Africa. So she and I were exploring the possibility of maybe performing at the Arts Festival. So all of that is up in the air, of course, with the current situation. But she's absolutely delightful person, and I'm thrilled that you're on that festival. I'll definitely try and check that out since it's being offered virtually. So anyway, we were talking before about a lot of this. The lockdown has provided time for us to go back and explore projects that have been sitting on a dusty shelf for a long time. And so composition for me has always been just something that I've dabbled in, that I really enjoy as a form of personal musical expression. And I have a few projects that are going on. I've been working on a film score for one of Alfred Hitchcock's films, an early silent film called Champagne. And so I've gone back to that score, tried to make some progress on that. But also, I have a set of 4 piano pieces, which I'm calling 4 seasonal sketches. And each one is supposed to depict in some way a mood of sorts from the different seasons. And I've composed 2 of them now. The one I want to play for you today is called Christmas 3 a.m. I know we're 6 months away from Christmas, but this particular piece plagued me for a long time. It's actually a very introspective work. It's a very brooding piece. And it really took this moment of self-isolation for me to be able to bring the piece to a close. And so in it, it's not meant to depict anything literally, but from it, you might get you'll hear the sound of 3 bells chiming throughout the piece. And it goes from this idea of, if you're up at 3 a.m, you're usually questioning something. And so this idea of this conflict of faith and this idea of elements of these religious elements coming in, of a church service and a choir singing. These are all the images that are invoked for me from this piece, but everyone, it should be a different experience. And so this also is a premiere, and I'll try and play it on my beautiful instrument here. So this is Christmas 3 a.m.
Wow. Wow.
Sure.
Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. Just incredible. Wow. I mean, it just when can I download it? When can I buy it?
I got to learn how to play it first, and we'll see.
I just
Gosh,
released.
yeah, that was a terrible job.
I recorded that and released it already while you were busy. Is that okay, Jim?
Oh wow, just incredible. I mean, we've actually got a comment here. It's beautiful. Fame.org, they love their piano as well. So just incredible. It was honestly beautiful and moving. And the movements between, I mean, just incredible. Honestly incredible. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
No, gosh, please. Can I just have you back next time? And actually, can you play my intro and my outro and then the jingle in between and just play? That's what I'm gonna have you do. Oh my
I'm
goodness.
gonna listen to you now. This is your opportunity to shine for sure.
The reason I do the show, and I tell this to a lot of people, the reason I do the show is because I'm just big fans of everybody, that I just want to like be in the same room as them to talk to them. It's the only reason I have you guys here, because I want to talk to you and I want to watch you guys. So y'all the inspiration. But yeah, so I will play now, and it is very difficult to follow the two doctors, honestly. And I'm going to play a song that I wrote while I was in Nashville. I think I wrote it about a year ago. And actually, Jonathan and I actually did work on it a bit together, and I just wish he was like here, and then he could play like some solo pieces over it. And I'm a little bit disappointed about that. If there wasn't a lag with internet, I would say hop in, but otherwise, you must be here next time to play it with me. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Cool, thanks. So I wrote this with a beautiful friend of mine called Danny Jack in the States, in Nashville, and the reason I'm going to play it now is because y'all keep me on my tippy toes. So the song's called Tippy Toes. And tell me, do you more guitar or less guitar? So good. Brilliant. Okay. Moonlight and red wine, cold tile floors, our little paradise, memories on the walls. Your arms surround me, and I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Empty pizza boxes, fresh cookie dough, old vinyl records playing soft and slow. Your eyes hold me, and I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Round and round we go, I'm spinning it with light as air. Floating, making love on level 9. I wanna lean on your soul while I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Your college t-shirt with my messy bun. You're in those marine sweatpants you only wear at home. Your heart captures me, and I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Round and round we go, I'm spinning it with light as air. Floating, making love on level 9. I wanna lean on your soul while I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Round and round we go, I'm spinning it with light as air. Floating, I'm making love on level 9. I wanna lean on your soul while I'm dancing. I wanna lean on your soul while I'm dancing on my tippy toes. Thank Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I feel like I should. I'm super nervous to be playing that in front of Jonathan because we did work on it, but I feel like I owed it to you to play it.
I think I remember you sang that. I think you sang that at the writers' round that I attended.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned
I
that,
do
Jim.
remember hearing that. It was beautiful, really stunningly beautiful.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, you actually. Yeah, I remember you came to one of my writers' rounds, and it was a big honor having you there. I mean, I've had Jonathan as a feature on one of my rounds, and having you there, I was incredibly nervous. I mean, the thing is, having a doctor of music in the audience or on stage with you is crazy. So that was it was really cool to have you there and to experience South African music in that context as well, because I'm speaking from my perspective right now. When it comes to the South African gig circuit, there are certain circles, and a lot of the circles are very limited. Sorry. So and with what you can do, depending on what circle you're playing in, what genre, and all that. But to have the opportunity to play your own acoustic music is very rare in this country. In the States, or in Nashville, it's only original music on rounds, and open mics are flooded with people that are up and comings and all that, and they're wanting to get their music out there. And South Africa, a lot of the time, you get paid to play your 3 times 45-minute sets, and it's usually covers, and you're usually the background music. So to sort of be able to play original music is real. It's a joy. So it was cool to have you there. But guys, we've gone way over time. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not really sorry, but I'm very sorry. And I know like there is Monday coming up, and you guys obviously have work and a crazy day ahead of you as well tomorrow. But I just want to say thank you so much for spending this time on my show and just chatting about music, things that we love, what you guys have been up to. Thank you so much for being part of this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ellie. It's nice to see you, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice to see you again.
Oh, cool. So what I'm going to do is we're going to end off the show now, but what I would love to do is just end off the show with pearls of wisdom, hashtag pearls of wisdom. Remember, I'm making a hashtag book. So hashtag pools of wisdom. Eliska, if I can start with you, is there any advice you'd like to give to any up and coming artists in this industry, or anything that's relative to you, just as some parting words?
So what I've learned as I get older, that's often a question that is asked, but I've really learned to keep an open mind, because so many people ask, how do you make it? And there's just not one single route or one single way. There's just so many different ways. And so I would just say, since I've just said to myself, don't judge, just see where it leads, and then actually sometimes you would be surprised what opens up, and so that would be my advice.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it sort of ties in with what Cassidy was saying earlier as well. Opportunities will come your way that you perhaps would not have expected. And you would have perhaps said no if it was out of your comfort zone. And to be in the spaces where it will push you, like Jukes has been doing with me having to do lives and to communicate with an audience in that way is very strange, because usually we're feeding off an audience, and to push yourself and to say, I'm not going to say no, I'm just going to push myself and do it, because you never know where it's going to lead, what's going to happen. So thank you so much to you and to Jukes for doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for imparting wonderful knowledge into this music cafe. Thank you. Mr. Crossley, Jonathan Crossley, do you have any hashtag pearls of wisdom, some parting words for our viewers and listeners today?
Well, I have one. It's one that stays with me all the time. And I was running 2 days ago and thinking about it again. And whenever I went to study with Johnny Faree, who's a late, great South African guitarist, jazz guitarist. And my first lesson, Johnny gave me a list of 10 CDs. I'm showing my age, to go out and buy. And I raced off with little money I had as a student, and raced off down to this very big CD store and found the 10 of them all things I didn't know. And he said to me, you need to listen to all these. So I went to listen to them. It was, and one of them was a great album by the American drummer Billy Cobham. It was, and it was one of his more edgy records. And I'd never heard music like this before. And so I listened to it and I thought, oh, what is that? You know, I didn't understand that. So I just shelved it. And so Johnny asked me the next week, and he said, how are the CDs? I said, yeah, they're amazing, amazing. Just Tal Farlow and Wes Montgomery and all these amazing jazz guitarists. He said, what did you like about that? I said, I love that. I said, but Johnny, this CD, this Billy Cobham thing, what is this? I don't understand this. Why did you make me buy it? And he looked at me and he said, that is your problem. And that was the best piece of advice I ever had, which was, if I don't get something, it's my problem. I need to figure out what it is that's great about that music that I don't understand. Once I've understood it, then I've learned something. So if you hear something you don't get as a young musician out there, remember, it's just because you don't get it. It's not because it's really good or bad.
No, very true. Very, very, very true. And I mean, thank you so much for explaining that, and also explaining your style of music and what you've been working on, because that ties into what you're saying as well. And like I've said before, I love what you're doing. I find it fascinating and intriguing. And I will defo share across any information onto my pages for people to watch and to keep tabs on what you're doing and the album release and everything. I'm really excited for this. So thank you so much for imparting your knowledge and being part of the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Jim, do you have any parting words for people that are watching today?
Well, I think all the things that have been said are so true. And if I were to distill it into just maybe a couple words, it would be stay curious. And it's curiosity that has taken me, I've taken now orchestras to 4 continents. Africa is the next continent on the list, and so soon to be 5. But the curiosity goes beyond just simply curious about classical music. We become curious about cultures. We become curious about different styles and genres. And in the end, we realize that our life is richer when we're exploring and we remain curious. And so I had a former teacher who once told me, he said, you don't die when you cease to breathe. You die when you cease to learn. And so that was instilled in me very young. And to this day, that's the thing that keeps me going. What's around the corner? And Jonathan, absolutely right. Whenever I get to a piece of music and I go, I used to say as a young student, I would say, I don't like that. And I never say that now. I say, I don't understand that. There must be something more there. And to me, that's almost like, that's the appeal of what we're doing, right? And the arts, it's so deep, right? You can take that mantra and probe works for a lifetime, and that's a worthwhile pursuit.
And I mean, thank you so much for all of that. And what you were saying earlier about staying curious, I mean, that ties on to what Christian was saying about always, you're never going to know everything. You're always even when you think you've made it, there's always something new to learn. So to stay humble in that space and to always know that you can be curious, and it's good to not always understand something completely. I want to stay curious about it. So thank you so much for being on the show and imparting some knowledge. And it was great. It was great seeing all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, guys. I'll keep tabs. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'll keep tabs. I'll WhatsApp all of you very soon. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Yes, bye. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching today's show. I found it so interesting, honestly, and having these guys in the Music Cafe and our pop-in guests. Just thank you so much to our guests for joining us today. If you guys have any further questions or comments for anybody else, you're welcome to pop them into the comments section, and I'll pass them on. And yeah, get in touch with me if you have any other questions for sure. But for now, guys, stay safe, call your loved ones, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye.